All right. Well, thanks again for being here. This is the second in our Soundtrap Masterclass series. This one is Make a Dance Track. We're joined by our very awesome, very special guest, RayVaughn Cabey, and he's going to be walking us through making a dance track in Soundtrap. So this is not just another tutorial. It's not about clicking this button, that button. This is for more intermediate and advanced users looking to actually really get creative and get down and dirty in Soundtrap. And that's what we're going to be doing. So just a couple things before we get started. I'm going to pass it over. Soundtrap is part of Spotify, and this is the mission of Spotify. And I feel like all of us are a part of this, that we're basically teaching and building the foundation for our youth to become the next generation of creators and artists. And so I enjoy that fact, and I hope that you feel like you're a part of that. Soundtrap has always been about making music creation simple and collaborative for everyone, music creation and storytelling. But obviously today we're focused on music. And this is a little bit about building beats. I'm not going to read it out loud, but you should definitely check them out. They're an amazing organization that works in New York City, providing music education across the city in some really amazing ways. So check them out. And RayVaughn is obviously a representative and one of their top teachers that's going to be taking us through this stuff today. So I'd like to throw this in here just in case you run into any performance issues. Check these things out. Always use Chrome when you're on a desktop. Always use wired headphones if you've got them. Sound quality you can move to low. Don't worry, it's not going to permanently affect your sound quality. It's just temporarily gonna make your computer run a little more smoothly. So especially if you're on a wimpy Chromebook on a wimpy internet connection, that's something that can help you out, as well as freezing tracks. If you can help it, don't share an audio device. So if you can help it, try not to be in Zoom and Soundtrap and this and that all using the same microphone. And when in doubt, do a quick save and refresh. Here are a couple resources to check out. There are bit.ly links. We've got a certified educator course. We've got a similar course for students. And we've got an EDU blog where we're sharing all kinds of ideas, either from us or from teachers or from groups like Building Beats, all kinds of stories from teachers around the world. Beautiful. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to RayVaughn, and he's going to take it away and show us how to build a track from scratch.
Cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Soundtrap Masterclass. My name is RayVaughn. Thank you, Taylor, for having me tonight. And I'm going to be walking you guys through on how to make a dance track. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. So this is Soundtrap. I'm guessing that all of us have seen this program before. It's a digital audio workstation, online based, which means you can create a podcast in here. You can make beats in here. You can record songs. Anything with audio, you can manipulate audio in this program. So today I'm going to be walking you through how to make a dance track. So a dance track is usually between the tempos of 100 and 140. So I'm going to use loops and a little bit of the instruments that come with Soundtrap to achieve this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my loops, and I'm going to go to pop. What's really good about Soundtrap is you can create beats depending on specific genres. So we're making a dance track, so let's go to pop. And I like synths for pop music, so I'm going to go and click synth, and let's see what we have. So I'm going to just preview some of the sounds here and see what sounds good. So I like this Anthem Sun plug. So I'm going to just go ahead and double click it into my edit window. I have 8 bars here. That sounds pretty good. So the next thing I want to do is add some drums. So I'm going to take my looper tool and bring it down to 1 bar. The reason why I want to do this is because I want to add drums using the pattern maker. And the pattern maker allows you to lay down drums in several ways. You can either use the patterns to lay your drums down by just clicking in. You can also go to the instrument tab where you can play them out by using your keyboard. And then there's also a piano roll where you can type or click in your notes from the drums with the pencil tool. So for this exercise, I'm going to be using the patterns to lay down my kick drum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a 4 on the floor method. Basically what that means is the first beat of every bar is going to be sounded off with a drum. So in a bar, there's 4 beats in every bar. So the first beat will be our drum hit. So I have 4 drums here. Let's see how it sounds. I don't know why it's happening. I'm gonna zoom in really quickly. All right. So I have this one bar here. Let's see how it sounds. I'm gonna just redo this really quickly. All right, so one drum there, one drum there. Cool. Now let's see how it sounds. All right. That's how I want it. So I'm going to drag this out back to 8 bars. And now let's see how it sounds with the drums together. Great. So now I have the foundation of a dance track. The drums sound pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go to my drums and rename it and name it kick, so I know where I am. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a snare drum. And the way I'm going to lay my snare down is I'm going to actually play it out. So I'm going to use the letter D here to play it out. And I'm going to turn on my metronome. So what my metronome does, it allows me to follow the rhythm of the track while I'm recording. So when you press record on Soundtrap, it's going to prompt you for 2 bars before you start recording. So I'm going to press record. It's going to count in. There we go. All right, so that sounds pretty good. So the next thing I want to do now is quantize this. And the reason why you want to quantize drums that you played out is because they may be off the grid a little bit. So in order to have everything sound on point, I'm going to quantize it a 16th note. And I'm going to bring up my snare just to have everything in symmetry. Name it snare. And let's listen to how it sounds. All right, so that sounded good. So what I want to do now is layer this snare with the clap to give it that dance feel. So what you can do is you can change different drum kits by going to machines up here. You click this button tab, and then you can go through some of the kits. Just to listen to them to see which ones will work. So I like this clap and the Anglo. I'm going to go back to instruments. I'm going to lay down this clap. So what I'm doing now is called layering. What layering does, it just gives more body to the drums. So I'm going to go ahead and press record and lay down this clap. I'm going to bring it up. Same process, quantize, 1/16 note, and let's see how it sounds together. All right, so that sounds pretty good. So I'm going to just bring this snare down, bring this clap up, just for volume purposes. I'm going to zoom in to make sure that all of my snares are hitting. So here, I'm going to just go to my edit my notes, and bring this clap down 1. Okay, so we should be okay. Great. So I'm going to press and name this clap. Now I'm going to go into loops and add another melody to this main plug. This sounds good the way it is, but we want to have some other elements going on while we have the drums and the main melody. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So I'm going to go to guitars, pop, and see what we can find. So while I'm skimming through, I'm just going to play. So I metronome off. I'm going to just preview other guitars to see how they sound. So I like this guitar loop too. I feel like it goes well with the creation. So I'm going to go ahead and double click this in. Drag it up. And let's see how it sounds. All right, great. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add a bass line. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use one of the virtual instruments that comes with Soundtrap. So the way you do that is you just click on synths here. I'm going to go to leads, and I'm going to look for a synth bass. Or I can just go to basses. And see what I can find. We have pop basses as well. The sick blue sounds pretty good. Let's see how we can incorporate it with the beat. So I'm going to listen to it. And in Soundtrap, the way you use the virtual instruments is you can trigger them by using a MIDI keyboard that you can hook up to your laptop, or you can directly use the typing keys on your keyboard to create a melody. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking for notes on the guitar that would sound well with this creation. So C sounds good. I'm gonna try B. All right, so these 3 notes sound pretty good. So I'm going to record those. I'm going to press record. Let me turn on my metronome for rhythm. And I'm going to fire away. So same process. I'm going to quantize these notes because I want them to sound on point. I'm going to move it up to where my melodies are, up top. And let's see how it sounds. All right. So now I have a really good foundation to start arranging this and making this to a full beat. So once you have a couple elements, you have a melody, a counter melody, and like something else in the background, like a bass or a guitar, like I have here, and some drums. You have enough to arrange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix these snares. I feel like they sound a little bit off to me. So I'm going to just fix those, and then I'm going to show you how to extend the rest of the beat and actually make a full song out of it. So I'm going to listen to it really fast. All right, so let me re-record these claps. Start from the top. And there we go. Awesome. So I'm going to just redo these snares on the bottom so I don't have to do it again. Open it up. Record. Great. So now I'm going to quantize both.
I might try quantizing to a quarter note even on these.
Okay. So let's try a quarter. Yeah, that might sound better. Yep. All right, so now I'm going to name this. I'm going to save it. In Soundtrap, you always want to name your tracks and then save them, just in case your internet goes down or you lose power. You can come back to it and resume from where you left off at. So now I have an 8-bar loop here with all my elements. The next thing I want to do is I want to extend this for about 32 bars. So I have a hook, an intro, and a place for a verse. So the way I arrange beats, I go by this 8-8-16 rule. And basically what that means is it's 8 bars for an intro, 8 bars for a hook, and then 16 for a verse. And that's how I usually arrange all of my songs. And that equals up to 32 bars. So I have everything arranged, or everything stretched out to 33 or 37. Let's bring it down to 33. All right, cool. Now, this is where you can get really creative on how you arrange your songs. So I'm going to make it really simple. So I'm going to take out all of my drums for the first 8 bars. So I'm going to bring my cursor to 8. I'm going to take out my kick. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to press Command E. If you're using a PC, it may be Control E to separate the track. I'm going to separate it, then delete it. Same thing for my clap. Separate, delete. And as well for the snare, separate, delete. Now let's see how this sounds together for the first 8. 9, everything will come in. And then at bar 17, I'm going to start cutting some things out. All right, so my guitar, I like that for the hook part. So I'm going to just go ahead and separate this. I'm going to also get rid of the guitar loop up here and separate that. Now let's see how that sounds from bar 17. All right, that sounds good. So I'm going to just get rid of the guitar from 21 to 25. Separate. Just listening to it. I'm gonna have the guitars come back in at 25. All right, great. So this is gonna be my verse, and I'm gonna bring it home with another chorus. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take my guitar, I'm gonna copy it over to bar 33. And the way you do that is you just click on the audio, you press the Alt key, and then you just drag it over. I'm gonna do the same exact thing for the guitars here. I'm gonna just drag it over. I'm gonna drag over the rest of my tracks. And let's just give this a listen. I'm gonna save it. Just so nothing is lost. And we just start from bar 17. The verse is finishing and the chorus is coming back in. All right, so now this sounds pretty good, but it still sounds a little boring. Even though we have all of the variations, we have the intro, we have the hook and the verse. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna add some sound effects into Soundtrap to give it a little bit of ear candy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to sound effects, and then I'm gonna just go down and look for some sweeps. And Soundtrap has a bunch of effects and stuff you can use. I really like this long sweep, so I'm gonna just bring this in. I'm just gonna just click it in. All right, so I'm gonna bring this up. And what the sound effects do is it gives the listener a little bit of ear candy, just to let them know what's happening, what's gonna drop, and what's coming in. So I want this sweep to come in around bar 8 to give it an intro for the rest of my hook that's gonna start. So basically what I'm doing is I'm trimming it down to how I want it because it comes in a little longer. So with the audio, there is a way you can trim it. All you have to do is just hover over it and there's going to be an arrow with two sides to it, and you can either extend it or you can trim. So what I'm doing is trimming by pulling it to the left, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fade out by going to the top of the track, and this small white circle right here allows you to fade. So I'm going to just fade this out. Let me go ahead and save again. Let me see what this sounds like. All right, so now that gives it a little bit of variation. I'm going to do the same exact thing for the switch up for the verse when I have the second guitar come in. So I'm going to go back into my sound effects. And I'm going to just look for something that sounds interesting. All right, that sounds good. So I'm going to click that in. Load it up. I'm going to just drag it up to bar 25. I'm going to zoom in. And just how I trimmed the first sound effect, I'm going to be doing the same for this one. So I'm going to trim it from the beginning and just fade it in. And I'm also going to fade it out. I'm going to press save because I want to have all of my work saved. And let's listen to it from 17. All right, so it sounds okay, but it doesn't have the effect that I want. So I'm going to just edit that and just switch it up. Let me just have it come in a little bit more. Let's see how it sounds. And when you're making these dance tracks, be as creative as you want. I'm just showing like the basic way of how to get the effect of it. So see how it sounds when it comes in. All right, that sounds good, but I want it to sound louder, so I'm gonna just bring it up a little bit more. All right, that's exactly what I wanted. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make an outro for your track. It's going to be the same as the intro. I'm just going to get one of these epic drops. And just add that in there. And in dance tracks, they always have like these cool drops, either as outros or bridges. I'm just using it for outro. There's no right or wrong way of using these things. So I'm going to swing through, save, and see how it sounds. Cool. So I like how that sounds. And from there, I'm going to just bring back all of my instruments. I'm going to separate that there. And I'm going to show you a quick way to copy all of your tracks at once. So you can just highlight them all at once, hold the Alt key, and then you can just drag it down. So the effect stops at bar 53. So I'm going to just move these back here. See how it sounds. You don't want it to drag out, so we're going to just bring everything up. Let's see how it sounds. You can start fading things out. Cool. So now we have 2 minutes of audio. Let's play it from the top. And then from there, we can go into a questionnaire. If you guys have any questions. You got the first effect coming in, bar 25. There it goes. Then we're going into the chorus, bar 33. Our drop and our outro. And those are the basics of how to make a dance track in Soundtrap. So I'm gonna open the floor up for any questions. Taylor, feel free to jump in whenever, and then we can just go ahead. Any questions?
Sure. So we don't have any questions in here yet. Looks like we do have a couple people with us.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't call you guys out by name and embarrass you, but if you're in here, let us know what you think. See if you got any questions. Also, if you are watching this on the recording, be sure to keep up with Building Beats and Soundtrap on our social media and Facebook groups so that you can attend these things live and be able to have your questions answered live. We'll try to keep up with Facebook and YouTube comments and everything, but it's always nice if you can be here live with us and have your questions answered by the experts in real time. So, I mean, here, I got a question for you.
Sure.
So now that you've got like your basic arrangement and you've got your instruments and everything, what kinds of mixing or what kinds of effects might you do? Like, I know in Soundtrap, it's, maybe not the same thing as working in different DAWs, but do you do any type of EQing or any other
Yeah.
type of effects?
So the first thing I would do is I would beef up my drums, because the drums in Soundtrap seem to be a little flat. So the way I would add effects to my drums, I would click on add effects. And then from here, you can manipulate the bass and the treble and like the reverb here. But I like to add some different effects to the drums. So first off, I'm gonna add a volume just to bring it up, because the kick drums sound a little low. So let's see how that sounds. All right, that's good. I want that knock. So from there, I'm gonna add a filter just to get it to sound a little bit more bassy. So let's see how that sounds. All right, so that's exactly what I want.
So for somebody that doesn't know what a high pass filter is, can you explain what that is? I saw like kilohertz going and you're kind of dragging it down. What is it that you're doing there?
All right, so basically what I'm doing is with the filter, I am cutting off the higher frequencies in the drum to give it more bass. So if I was to bring up the high frequencies in drums usually make the drum sound flat. So if you want drums to sound boomy and like have a knock to them, you want to manipulate the low frequencies. So I try to bring it down to about 800 or 900 kilohertz to give it more of that speaker knock effect with the drums.
So that means it's cutting everything above 800 and you only hear everything below 800.
Exactly. So it's going to cut off any other frequencies below that. And then with my arrangement, now I just do a little bit of leveling. So what leveling is, I'm just going to change the volumes, or just give my track balance by changing the volumes of specific tracks. Where it could be a drum, it could be claps, it could be the instruments, whatever I need to have sit in the mix, I'll do that first, because you really can't really do a lot of mixing in Soundtrap, because the master volume doesn't tell you when you're clipping. So you have to kind of just use your own ears to figure out what you want. So the first thing I'll do is I'll bring everything down to 0 on my mixing knobs, and then I'll just bring everything up. And once I have it arranged, I'll just bring the looper tool to where all the instruments are playing, so I don't have to like guess what's on and what's not on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my drums sound good to me. So I'm going to just go ahead and play it. I'm going to bring my drums up first, bring the kick up. Then I'm going to bring in my clap. And because I'm using two claps, I don't have to really go crazy with the volume. I just want a nice blend. All right, so that sounds good. Now my main melody is the guitar loop up front. I'm gonna bring this up. there may be some instruments that you want it to sound really apparent. There may be some instruments you want in the background. This is my background loop, so I'm gonna just have this in the middle. My main loop is the anthem. I'm gonna bring this up. And in Soundtrap, when you're mixing, you want to look at your master volume down here. You never want the bar to go past where this dot is. So you want everything to kind of be hitting right around here. This is a good value. So now I'm gonna just listen to my sound effects to make sure they sound pretty good. Because without the sound effects, it kind of takes away from the ear candy. So let's just bring this up a little bit. All right, that sounds apparent enough. Let's move to the next one. All right, so that sounds a little loud, but I don't like the way this is all the way up on the volume. So I'm going to just go and add a volume to it. I'm going to just bring it to the middle and add an effect. And the way you add an effect to any of your tracks in Soundtrap is you can just click on the icons on the left. They can either be drums or an audio file. And it's going to take you to an add effect tab. From there, you have various effects that you can use to alter and kind of process your tracks. I like using the volume because the volume brings up your tracks without having the real volume all the way to the right. So I'm gonna just bring this up to, you know, almost like 75% max. And let's see how it sounds. All right, so that sounds pretty loud at the mid. I'm gonna just bring this up a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna come down a little bit. Just wanna get that sweet spot with the leveling. All right, that's perfect to me. So now I'm gonna move over to my drop. And because that's the only sound that's being played, the volume is fine. But I'll just bring it up a little bit more. Now just play it from 45. And then, like, if you wanted to get like really funky with like your instruments, you can put different effects on it that will alter the sound of it. So this right here is a big plate. This is a reverb. The reverb just makes the instruments sound like it's in a concert hall. It gives it like it gives it space. It gives like a spacey type of sound. If you wanted to kind of distort it, you can add fuzz. That's like a guitar pedal, and you can put grain on it. The grain makes it more crunchy. I actually like the way that sounds. Just a bite on it. And another pro tip as well is, because these sounds are stock sounds, you want to make them your own by tweaking them. You want to add effects to them. You want to change the arrangements of them, just to give it a little bit more originality. Because there's a lot of people that are using these loops. So to give it its own twist, I would suggest adding effects to them. So let's listen to this buzz. That sounds cool.
I love that fuzz.
So I'm gonna put a 3D on it. I'm gonna put the 3D on it just to give it some more space, along with the reverb, just to see how it sounds. And what the 3D does, it's basically a stereo imager. For people, if you don't know what a stereo imager is, basically what that does is it just spreads out the audio on the left and right side to give it a surround sound type of sound. So let's put it here. Let's see how it sounds. Some far background. Let's put it above. So I'm going to add some effects to the guitar just to give it some variation. And if you play guitars, like there's so many pedals in here that you can use to alter. So let's give it a try. So I'm going to put a wah on it. That sounds good to me. I'll bring this up. And just have fun with it. Like these effects allow you to be creative with what you have. So I like that. I like that. That wah. I'm gonna put a chorus on it. It's very subtle, but it definitely alters the sound. Let's see how it sounds all together. Yep.
Awesome.
So it just went from a standard pop track from Soundtrap to its own creation just by adding a couple of effects. If the effects sound too much, you can always bring the rates down or the depth down or the mix, just for it to sit sweet within the levels of the track. Cool.
Awesome.
I think we have some. Do you have any questions in the chat?
No, it looks like it's
okay,
everything. Cool. All the questions have been answered. I guess you're just explaining everything right up, right off the bat. So if we don't have any other questions, we I think we'll wrap this up. That was a great class. Thank you so much, RayVaughn, for showing us all of that, and
no problem.
Showing us from scratch how to build a dance track. It's going to be, this recording will be up pretty soon, so everyone can check it out. And definitely check out Building Beats, especially if you're in the New York area. They've got some great programs, and we'd love to see you connected with them.
Cool.
Any last words?
I had a great time showing you guys how to make a dance track in this masterclass. Check us out on Building Beats, and have a great night.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.
Cool. Later.